So first, how did you get started in plant expeditions?
Growing up in northern Michigan as a kid, my earliest memories were of plants. I began exploring the forests and bogs surrounding my hometown, looking for novelties. And so reading about them and finding out what actually would grow there, what I would expect to see there, encouraged me to go out into them and look specifically for those things. And it was always like a treasure hunt. In 1993, I went to South Korea. That was my first real trip abroad for the sole purposes of collecting seed in the wild. That then took me into just an incredible time of learning the breadth and diversity of the plant kingdom in locales that correlated with the Pacific Northwest where I was gardening. The Southern Hemisphere is just a mirror image of the North. South Africa, Chile, New Zealand, and Australia, we're looking at the same hardiness of plants. And Nepal comes to mind. Also, to a certain extent, Vietnam, where I've spent a lot of time looking at plants.
So as Heronswood and Windcliff have evolved, when you're on these expeditions, what type of plant qualities are you looking for to bring back?
Well, like anyone that has gardened their whole life, that criteria has evolved. We begin to understand there are certain qualities of plants that rise above others. And for me, it's foliage. The flowers can come and go. I'm not saying that I don't like flowers, but it's the foliage that's going to take you out into the garden.
As a garden designer, many of my clients cite shady areas as being their most difficult spot in the garden to develop. So do you have any suggestions for shade shrubs that really offer that wow factor?
So there's a few evergreen shrubs that are just tough and durable, but still provide that boldness of leaf that really sail through the conditions of shade. Akuba, or the Japanese laurel, is almost foolproof. And the variegated Japanese laurels, or Akuba japonica, is really good. And Sunny Days is one of those that Monrovia is producing.
Can you suggest another plant that serves as a tropical background or backdrop plant?
Oh boy, can I. Growing up in Michigan, I had a Schefflera as a houseplant. This Taiwanese species, though, Schefflera taiwaniana, is the hardiest and provides such an amazing texture. There are two seedling selections, Winged Phoenix and Goldfinger. So they're particularly hardy.
And to pick up on that bright variegation, I usually choose an ornamental grass like Japanese forest grass, but a lot of clients aren't interested in ornamental grasses. Can you suggest any other ground cover type plants that would work in a similar situation?
Look at the number of ferns that we can grow that will provide evergreen foliage and wonderful texture throughout the year. There's a new one in Monrovia's Jurassic series called Velociraptor. It's actually a terrace. Beesia is an incredible evergreen clumping plant that not only tolerates but demands shade. Begonias, which comes in a cultivar called Crimson Fans. The Crimson Fans is absolutely sensational. You'll have the most intense lacquered red foliage color that you can imagine on this.
So what about a lower growing herbaceous plant with fabulous foliage?
I am going through my begonia phase of my life and have now really zeroed in on begonias as being some of the most exciting new plants that we can grow in our gardens that are proving to be 100% hardy. And Monrovia has introduced a new series of begonias called the Tectonic series, and they're all based on collections that I've recently made. I'm filled with gratitude for Monrovia for believing in some of these plants that I have felt for a long time deserve greater use in our gardens. And they went out on a limb for me, but I think that it's going to make our gardens richer.
Dan, thank you so much for letting us show up on this gorgeous morning in your beautiful garden and sharing some of these fantastic shade plants with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, it's been so nice to have you here. These plants, I think, are going to do the trick. And I'm really excited to hear from people and how they're performing for them.